Priscilla Macmillan, who would later become Oswald's biographer, met him in Moscow where she was working as a journalist.
He told me he wanted to defect because there were a lot of things in the United States which he did not like, particularly capitalism and racial discrimination. He said he was a Marxist, and this was it, the communist paradise.
It was a rare American who thought the Soviet Union was paradise. The New York Times reported on Oswald's desire to stay in the Soviet Union. But the Russians were skeptical of any would-be defector, especially one barely 20 years old.
The initial reaction to any foreigner in the old USSR was to view them as CIA or some other intelligence agents. But after some research, we found out that he was not good for the CIA. So we thought maybe we'll turn him into a Soviet agent eventually, but he was no good either.
6 days after he got to Moscow, the Russians decided they didn't want him and told him to leave.
Oswald, to us, looked like a misfit, an unhappy man. The man who did not know what to do, the man who was looking for something and he did not know himself what he was looking for.
But the Soviets underestimated his determination and his flair for the dramatic. When he heard he'd been rejected, Oswald went to his hotel room and slit his wrist.
He made a hysterical gesture. Probably didn't want to kill himself, really, but he wanted to force them to let him stay, and believe it or not, he succeeded. He blackmailed them, as he did everybody.
It worked. The Soviet authorities caved in and allowed Oswald to settle in the city of Minsk, where he was given an apartment and a job in a factory. Oswald stood out in Minsk. As an American, he was different. He enjoyed people's curiosity. He met and married a Russian girl, Marina. They had a child, but they lived the life of ordinary workers, and it was not the communist paradise he was seeking.
The mainspring of Lee's character was reaction against, negative. Wherever he was, it was better somewhere else. And after he lived in Russia for a while, Russia seemed bad to him, and America seemed better.
In June 1962, disappointed in Russia, Lee decided to take Marina and go home. They headed for Dallas, Texas. Lee was convinced that when they arrived at Love Field, he'd be greeted by curious reporters.
One of the first things he says, "What, no reporters?" He seemed definitely disappointed. He had his notes how he was going to answer the reporters, or why this and why that, why he went to Russia, and why he came back. But there was nobody to talk to.